She was once a yoga teacher, even getting certified in Indonesia. But what landed her in jail wasn't very namaste.
I hate what you did to my beautiful daughter. It was very selfish and cowardly. That violent act on May 11th. It was cowardly because you never chose to face her woman to woman.
Remember Kaitlin Armstrong?
It's Kaitlin.
Well, if you don't, let me give you a little background. Have you ever not liked a person solely based on the fact they previously dated your girlfriend, or in this case, your boyfriend? We might have all been there, right? But what we haven't done is take matters into our own hands to shoot and kill that person. And if that's not enough, continue to go through those great lengths by fleeing off to Costa Rica and physically changing your appearance. It sounds like it's straight out of a movie, right? But this wasn't a movie. It was real life, and it all happened in this case. So let's actually go back to 2019. That's when Kaitlin met Colin Strickland. Now, Colin is a pro cyclist, and Kaitlin reportedly became interested in cycling after the two met. Seems pretty normal. Then the following year, obviously, COVID hit. And like many couples, they decided to move in together, even buying a house together. But that's not all. The two also went into business together, a trailer restoration business. Now, Kaitlin focused on the business side, and Colin handled the operations and labor, but the two ended up splitting in the fall of 2021. Now, for some couples, they split and get back together, split and get back together, and it becomes a habit. And that's kind of what happened here. The two split, but during that off period, Colin started seeing someone else. That other person was Moriah Wilson, better known as Mo. But the relationship between Colin and Mo didn't really last that long. According to a friend of Colin's, it lasted about a week, but Colin and Mo remained friendly. Then Colin and Kaitlin reconciled their relationship. But here's the thing. Colin told investigators he kept Mo's name in his phone as a different name because he didn't want to cause any drama or start any issues. So you probably know where I'm going with this. The jealousy from Kaitlin was so much it became deadly. So Kaitlin reportedly found out about Mo and Colin's very brief romantic relationship in January of 2022. And during this time, Colin bought two guns, one for him and one for Kaitlin. Very Texas, right? But 4 months later, everything came to a head. On May 11th of that year, Mo was at her friend's house in Austin, Texas. She was gearing up for a bike race. So that afternoon, Colin and Mo texted about meeting. Again, Colin and Mo stayed friends, and Colin is a pro cyclist. So the two met up for food and drinks. Now, surveillance video showed the two at the Pool Burger Cafe in Austin. But there was another person eyeing his whereabouts. Kaitlin, who looked up Mo on the Strava fitness app, which has none other than a GPS feature. And sure, you can argue that your boyfriend lying to you about his whereabouts might make you mad. But to take it to this next level just is unimaginable. Investigators say an electronic lock recorded Mo arriving home shortly after 8:30 that same night. But a minute later, a black Jeep pulls up into Mo's neighborhood. Multiple shots rang out, hitting Mo 3 times. The horrific aftermath was caught on police body camera after Mo's friend arrived home to see her lying in a pool of her own blood.
Do you know if she's talking to anyone or any friends? I know you say you don't freaking live here.
I knew she was with her friend Colin.
Colin? Colin's last name?
Colin Strickland.
Colin Strickland?
Strickland, yeah. Yeah. They went swimming.
Okay.
She's staying with me. I'm really close with your family. Okay.
Did you see a gun or anything like that in there when you were in
Why is
there?
there a bullet casing out of her?
Colin? You said Colin
Strickland.
Strickland? Okay.
Yeah.
And you know where Colin Strickland lives or anything
No,
like
but I
that?
have his phone number. I can call him. Or I can give you his phone
No,
number.
we'll get all that information from you. You said, so she went swimming with Colin Strickland?
Swimming. I left to go have dinner with my friends, and then I came back. And this is my house.
That's your house.
This is my house. She's staying with me.
When you saw her, you had eyes on
I left
her.
for dinner at 5:30.
So you left dinner at 5:30. What time did you come back?
Right 2 minutes before I called 911.
Okay, so okay, cool. So it's. Do you have the best guess of her birthday or like? And you said so. She's from Vermont,
Yeah.
but she's currently living in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay.
Investigators are obviously going to talk to that person that was last seen with Moriah. So the next day, they spoke with Colin.
So, there's really no easy way to say this, sir. So, apparently last night she passed away.
How did?
Yeah. Right now it's an open investigation. but it is being investigated as a homicide.
Okay. It's wild. Sorry.
No.
And we went to Deep Eddy yesterday afternoon, and then Big Burger, and I dropped her at her the apartment she's been staying at with her friend Cash at about 6:30.
From there, the rest of the body cam is redacted. And I just want to make it very clear. Colin has never been criminally charged in connection to Moriah's death, nor have investigators said he had anything to do with her murder. So the same day detectives spoke with Colin, they traced the Jeep to Kaitlin and obtained a warrant to search Kaitlin and Colin's place. That's where they found a gun under Kaitlin's name that just so happened to match the shell casings from the crime scene. So they arrested Kaitlin, but not for murder, instead for an outstanding misdemeanor charge for theft after she allegedly left a spa without paying for Botox.
Detective Connor, you still have handcuffs on and everything. Let's get those off for now. Do you need any water or anything? You want some water? Yeah, I can definitely get you some. Yeah, this way you can get a little bit more comfortable.
I got that water for you, ma'am, right here.
Oh, perfect. Get that for you. Awesome. So here's that, and then I'm just gonna grab some stuff real quick, and then I'll be in here and I'm gonna chat with you real quick, and then we'll get through this really fast. Okay.
Now 15 minutes go by and Kaitlin doesn't say much while waiting to be interviewed by detectives. She just sat there quietly, massaging her wrists. Then the detective comes back.
The reason I'm here, so I don't have any part of that portion of it, okay? The reason I'm here is because your name came up during a conversation with Colin. I think there's a lot more information that you have that can kind of explain some of the stuff he's saying. So I'd like to talk to you and kind of get a little bit more information on that. Apparently that warrant, the date of birth was wrong. So it had your name, but the date of birth is wrong, so it's to a different person. So that's not, you're not under arrest, okay?
Okay.
I know, it's a little crazy. Yeah, so you're...
So they just came to my house and put me in handcuffs for no reason?
So there was a warrant that they thought was you. Because of the name, apparently the date of birth was off, okay? So there was some miscommunication on that. So, but I would really like to talk to you and clear some stuff up, because Colin did bring your name up, and I think there's a lot more information that you have that can kind of clear some stuff up. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I feel like I should have an attorney present.
So that's totally your choice. So at this point, you are free to leave at any point. So this is going to be consensual at this point because you're not under arrest, okay? So everything we say here, you're going to leave. You're not under arrest. You're not going to go to jail right now. Nothing like that, okay? Because that warrant is not good. All right, it belongs to somebody else apparently. So everything that we say in here is just consensual at this point. The door is unlocked. You can leave at any time. So
I would love to leave.
You would love to leave.
You just arrested me in front of my house, in front of all of my neighbors, and carried me in here in handcuffs in front of downtown Austin. It was incredibly
I can only imagine, yeah. And I'm so sorry. I don't have control over that part, okay?
I'm not upset with you.
Yeah. So let me kind of explain some stuff. So there's a situation that's going on. Did you hear about what's happened over the past 24 hours?
Colin walked in the house and said one of the women in the cycling community passed away.
Yes, yeah. While Colin was talking to us, your name came up, and it sounds like there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it sounds like, you know, Colin's been maybe talking to this girl for a little bit and kind of threw your name in there.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you mean or what information you'd like.
Well, so it sounds like, you know, it sounds like maybe he went out with this girl the other day, and maybe it sounds like from what he's saying that you were a little upset about it. And so that's why I kind of wanted to get your side of it, because that's not fair if he's just saying one thing and and trying to go down a route, and I want to make sure that's not the case.
That is not accurate.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to chat with you, because it's a guy. He's going to say stuff, and so we want to make sure that we get both sides of the story and everything and clear it up. So what were you doing yesterday?
I would like to leave, I think.
You'd like to leave?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, if that's completely your choice, but understand if you do, then we only have one side of the story to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we're hearing from Colin, you know, it's one side, and I think it would be very beneficial to get the other side of it and kind of explain a little bit more of, you know, what's going on actually.
Well, I just am uncertain as to even what you mean or what he could have said, because I didn't have any idea that he saw or went out with this girl.
Okay, yeah.
Recently.
Has he been like talking to her
I would
on
like
the
to
side?
leave. I
Okay.
don't actually know, and I would like to leave.
Okay.
So she left, not just leaving the police station, but the country too. Obviously, you need a little more time to just flee from the country. So this is what Kaitlin did. Just 2 days after her almost interview with police, she hopped on a flight from Austin to Houston, then from Houston to New York, where her sister lives. I mean, I guess that's not weird if your boyfriend's ex wasn't recently murdered and if investigators weren't looking to talk to you. But from New York, Kaitlin hopped on a flight to Costa Rica using her sister's passport. Now, we've seen it before. Family member helps another family member. But in this case, Kaitlin's sister Christine told police she never gave her passport to Kaitlin. Now, Kaitlin, once in Costa Rica, didn't sip cocktails by a beach. She went to work, or got work done, I should say. Kaitlin cut and dyed her hair, going for a darker look. She used a new name, Allison Page, and she got $6,000 worth of plastic surgery. She got lip fillers, a nose job, and a brow lift. So now we're in June, still in 2022, so a month after Moriah was murdered. Kaitlin, aka Allison, is still in Costa Rica, but the U.S. Marshals were tipped off to her location. Now remember how I mentioned Kaitlin was a yogi? Well, the Marshals used that to their advantage. They set up a fake job posting for a yoga instructor, and then the trap was set. Now Kaitlin responded to that posting and reached out to discuss the yoga instructor position. One of the deputies told 48 Hours he thought it looked like Kaitlin, but wasn't 100% sure. She had swollen lips and a bandage on her nose, but recognized her through her eyes. It was a huge break. Kaitlin was arrested. She was taken to jail in Costa Rica, then extradited back to the States. She was charged with first-degree murder and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, and held on a more than $3 million bail. But Kaitlin made headlines once again for trying to flee again, this time from police custody. So this happened more than a year after she fled to Costa Rica. On October 11, 2023, corrections officers took Kaitlin to an appointment outside of the jail. And while they were leaving the medical office, Kaitlin ran on foot, all while still handcuffed, and tried to jump over a fence. But she was ultimately caught. Officials say she was planning that escape for months and faked a leg injury just so that way she wouldn't have to wear leg restraints when the COs took her to the medical office. A couple weeks after that attempt, Kaitlin went on trial.
On May 11th, 2022 at 9:15 p.m. was screamed in terror. And that evidence came from Mr. Donald's audio from his camera, G4 camera, from this witness stand. I was true to my word. I brought that evidence to you. And I also told you on that tape, heard 2 shots. And there was a 4 or 5 second pause. I told you in opening, and I presented it to you, pursuant to paragraph 12, evidence from the witness stand, that she stood over her. This young lady over here, the defendant Kaitlin Armstrong, I told her she stood over her after she shot her in the head twice and put another bullet right in her heart.
Now, when it came time for the defense, they pointed the finger at Colin.
Colin changed Moriah Wilson's name in his phone on May 11th. Colin deleted his text exchange with Moriah Wilson on May 11th. What was different about May 11th? Why did he do that on May 11th? He felt he needed an alibi. Why that day? Jealousy. She ran. She ran. Only a guilty person would run. Are you a fool, Rick Kofer? And yet you heard testimony that Kaitlin was told by the Austin Police Department, free to go, ma'am. And when she went to New York, free as a bird, just like any of the 14 of you. And when she booked that ticket for Costa Rica, when she drove to Newark Airport, when she got on a plane bound for San Jose, what did Richard Spittler tell you? That the murder warrant that he had gotten about 10:30 p.m. on May 17th, 2022, had not been entered into TCIC and CIC. At the moment she bought that ticket, at the moment she was on the way to the airport, on the moment she got there, when that plane was taken off, there was no way in the world that Kaitlin Armstrong could have had any awareness or knowledge in any way whatsoever that there was a warrant for her arrest.
But in the end, the jury made their decision.
The defendant will please rise. In cause number D1DC 22301-129, the State of Texas versus Kaitlin Armstrong, verdict of the jury. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kaitlin Armstrong, guilty of the offense of murder as alleged in the indictment, signed by the presiding juror on today's date, 2:14 p.m. You may be seated.
Now, just like her trial where Kaitlin chose not to testify, she also chose not to speak during her sentencing. As for her sentence, it's likely Kaitlin will never get back to the paradise that was Costa Rica.
The defendant will please rise. In cause number D1DC 22301-129, verdict of the jury for the offense of murder. We, the jury, having found the defendant, Kaitlin Armstrong, guilty of the offense of murder, assess her punishment at confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division for a period of 90 years and a $10,000 fine, signed at 1:58 p.m. by the presiding juror. You may be seated. In accordance with the verdict that the jury has rendered, this court hereby sentences you to 90 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice and a $10,000 fine as imposed by the jury. You may be seated.
Now, while Kaitlin will be serving what could be the rest of her life in prison, her actions clearly had devastating effects. Moriah's family is now without their daughter, but according to CBS Austin, Moriah's family felt justice was served. They even created a foundation in Moriah's honor called the Moriah Wilson Foundation. Their mission, according to their website, is to promote healthy living and community by supporting organizations dedicated to expanding recreation, sports, and educational programs. As for Colin, he was reportedly dropped by a number of sponsors following Moriah's murder in 2022, but appears through his social media that he's still involved in the cycling community. And as for Kaitlin, she was sent to the Dr. Lane Murray unit in Gainesville, Texas, where she won't be eligible for parole until 2052. And again, Kaitlin Armstrong is eligible for parole after 30 years, when she'll be 64 years old. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Millner.